This is the Hom Prod C, otherwise known as the Prod C. Before I get started with this review, I just want to make it very clear that Jerry Hom lent this to me for free. He sent it to me on loan for me to review. So thank you so much, Jerry. I am so sorry it took me so long to get to this review. It's just been a little hectic in my life. And I want to be clear that him lending this to me for free does not affect my review. But again, very grateful that he did this. And again, huge shout outs to Jerry. Check out my interview with him. He's just been in the industry for so long and he has got a lot of insight. So first thing I want to say about this Prodigy C is that this is with titanium handles. It is only a trainer, and it does normally come with 2 sets of spacer screws. However, I was allowed to remove a pair. Without one of those, it is 4.34 ounces. I am going to be honest, I don't fully remember what it weighs with it, but I can just check it real quick. You know, just give or take a little bit for the bag. 4.52. Now, comparatively, the iBasilisk is, according to Blade HQ, 4.61. So it's actually very close to feeling like an iBasilisk in certain ways. It is also sandwich, and so while the basilisks come in variations, iBasilisks are channel, and basilisks can be also sandwich. I believe most of them are titanium, either with scales or without. I have a G10 Basilisk back there, and I also have done a full channel iBasilisk lashless version and an Elite Basilisk that had both the original spacers and the zippy spacers. So on my first initial unboxing, I was not very crazy about the Prod C. I was feeling like it was just a little handle bias for me, and while I like Hom knives, I have had a fair share of trying them. I own a Ghost and a G10 Basilisk. I've had 2 other Basilisks that I've went through, and I also own a Chimera. I wasn't as crazy about this one, but I did try removing the one set of end screws at the end with Jerry's permission, and I gotta say it is surprisingly effective how much this affects the balance. It is certainly much more neutral with 1 pair of screws instead of 2. Still maybe a smidge handle bias. However, there are also carbon fiber and G10 Prod Cs that weigh 3.85 to 3.97 ounces. I assume 3.85 is for the carbon fiber because carbon fiber is lighter than G10. And it is described as neutral F. I have not tried these myself, but I think that they would be much more in line with my preferences. And I just think that the carbon fiber that Hom uses just looks really nice with his knives. Like, I have a carbon fiber Chimera that I absolutely adore. It is a fantastic EDC knife as well as a great flipper. But the Prod C is a trainer only. I asked him also if it was possible to swap the blade with other handles, such as the Basilisk, and he said, would not recommend. And So I was wondering, I asked him if I could try to swap handles and blades with other knives of his, and if yes, if I was allowed to try different configurations, but he said, please don't. And I said, okay, cool. So let's talk about some of the basics first. Like most Hom knives, the horns are very prominent, but I don't find them obtrusive, and it has a very distinct kind of recurve blade. I don't remember the steel of it, but it is a trainer, so it's probably something like 440C. It's obviously not meant for cutting, and it has a bunch of holes, kind of like old school trainers do, but like much more intentional looking. Like a lot of old school trainers, like on the Benchmade series, are ugly as butter knives that have just like 3 holes in them. This one I do feel like is something that's kind of akin to an old-fashioned design with a much more intentional design. It has a change in the size of holes as it goes up and down. I kind of seesaw on how I feel about it. Sometimes I'm like, that's cool, and sometimes I'm like, it's kind of ugly. I keep going back and forth, and so I don't know. My opinions on it change, and so how you feel about it is obviously up to you. It is a matter of preference. It runs on tang pins, not an issue. They're super chunky. Definitely don't feel any problems with it. Despite it on tang pins, it actually chaplains quite nicely. I do feel a little bit of the groove in the tang cup of the handles, but it's like very minor. And again, I don't find that the horns get in the way. Chaplains feel good. Handles are very smooth, very nicely machined, very comfortable round edges. There's no sharp corners anywhere. The interior holes are nicely chamfered. It's very nice and it's very quality. And so whether or not you like how it feels or like how it looks, I think objectively speaking, it's well done. It doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. There are like, I don't like when the holes are like too wide and it doesn't feel like there's anywhere to put, like, I feel like when pinching it is just uncomfortable because there's just not enough surface area for my fingers to actually hold, and it's just like, oh, I'm putting my fingers over a big groove. But this is not the case. These handles do still have plenty of material on the side, and the chamfering in the interior again is comfortable. Likewise with the round holes in the middle, feels very good. It's a clean design. It looks good, and yeah. And then you have a couple of smaller holes down here, one big one up here, and then these. I think you could have 3 holes here, like up to 3 sets of hardware there, but that would be insanely handle heavy. So right now there's only 1. Again, normally it comes with 2, so you can imagine that these holes are filled with screws as well if you prefer handle bias. And I'm pretty sure Zippy has spacers for the Prodigy C. If not, I'd be a little surprised, and I'm sure that he could change that upon request. So, how is the Prod C's flipping performance? It is slight handle bias with titanium design, nice round solid feel. I would not be surprised if this could take a beating. And if you were looking for a titanium trainer that you could daily drive and flip without worrying about it getting completely destroyed, I think this could be a pretty solid one. It is a trainer, so there's no legal issues, albeit do be aware that trainers to strangers still look like, you know, the dangerous, scary butterfly knives, right? So obviously use your best judgment. I would be careful about, like, you know, just brandishing this. But it is legal and it is safe. As for how it feels, tolerances feel pretty good. I think I could maybe tighten this screw a little bit. It's a T10 hardware, so no issues there. Okay, I don't know if there was any effect on that. That's okay. But yeah, it just feels like really solid. So at around like 4.3 ounces and titanium and mild handle bias, it does. It might not be your preference. Obviously, that would be up to you. I find that while it's not that much heavier than a Kraken, it feels heavier than a Kraken, just emotionally, mentally. That is up to you to determine. And again, with titanium Krakens have now started to skew a little lighter, and they just feel very different in hand as well. Whereas like these handles are, I wouldn't say they're bulky, but they certainly don't feel thin, and they don't feel chunky, and they don't feel thin or small, but they do feel like hefty. It feels solid. It feels well constructed. It doesn't feel like this is gonna be flimsy or it's gonna break. The tune on this is pretty solid, pretty solid. Obviously everything could be a little better, but it is a sandwich knife, and for a pretty solid tune, like I'm certainly happy with this. I find that fanning does still have a little bit of a wobble, just a little bit of a wobble with one set. With both, you can see in my unboxing, my first impressions unboxing video, that it's much more like, I don't know how I feel about this. Rollovers, there's definitely enough weight. There's absolutely enough weight for it to go all the way around without any issues. So if you're struggling with rollovers, it's either a preference thing or a skill issue. But I certainly find that rollovers don't feel like it. It doesn't feel like an issue. But yeah. Hello. I'm trying to do other tricks. Z choker. Balls. I will say though, like, while I do like this, I don't necessarily Love it. And it is, I want to say what, it was like 300 something dollars. Let me just double check real quick. Hom Prod C is the Prodigy trainer. It's not cheap. It's $335 on his website. That might be different on Blade HQ. Let me just double check. See, Blade HQ. I don't 100% know. I don't actually know if he has the if his Prodigy is on there. Prodigy. Oh no, there's the mod B. No, I don't want the Gerber Prodigy. Prodigy. There's the Prod B, and it's sold at $295. It's also out of stock. So as far as I can tell, you have to get it through Hom himself. Maybe there's another. I haven't checked all the stores, but it being 300, did I say? Like 335. Let's see if there's any other prices. Yeah, there's some that's like 319, 349. There's various variants based off of the Anno and maybe a few other things. The G10 one is 349, currently sold out. Or sorry, the carbon fiber one, 349 sold out. G10, 339 also sold out. But they will eventually come back into stock. I know that he had a drop not too long ago, but it can go as low as 319 and up to 349 based off of various things, whether you get it raw or whether or not you get it with scales. Oh, and also there's one with G10 spacers, which would probably be even lighter than this. So titanium handles with G10 spacers might be for you if you want that nice hefty feel. You don't want to have scales. You want that nice titanium finish that feels good, feels smooth, feels clean. Is this satin? I don't know. I always feel like I think that satin is something. It's maybe stonewash. This might be stonewash. If it's stonewash, it's like a very, very light stonewash. It doesn't feel very heavy. I think it is stonewash, but the G10 spacers will probably be lighter than the titanium one. Or, yeah, I think this is titanium hardware. Or it's blue, so I assume it's titanium hardware. But yeah, it's a bit pricey. Not like uncalled for pricey, like it is titanium handles, it is a trainer, and it's Hom, so you know it's gonna be like trustworthy. Like there are a lot of new makers out there who are making like titanium trainers, and they're like going to be over $300, and it's hard to know if you can trust it because they're new makers, and so like there's not a lot of history. But Hom has been in the game for, again, like over 10 years at this point, and he's done so many Balisongs, and they're very much his design. So like if you don't like Hom knives, you won't like it. Like I'll be honest, like if you don't like his other knives, you're not gonna like this. It's in the same vein as a Basilisk, opposed to a Chimera. Chimeras I find are much longer, and Basilisks feel much sturdier. So this does kind of feel like a Basilisk trainer, albeit it is different. I wouldn't mind if there was official compatibility between these handles and the blades, because I do think it's nice to be able to choose whether or not you want a trainer versus whether or not you want a live blade. I know that I think these handles look really nice, and the Basilisk's handles are much more expensive just because of how much more machining it takes to do that. It's just a lot more work. There are other Balisongs that he's done, like there's the Spectre, which I don't think I've seen anyone have for a hot minute, and there's the Rhapsody, which I think is older and is a trainer. I don't like how that trainer blade looks personally, and it does have a latch. The handles look kind of nice, but I honestly think that the Prodigy, the Prod C as we are now, is the best looking trainer that he has. And as far as live blade goes, I think he currently only has Basilisks and Chimeras for sale. So the other ones that I mentioned, I think, are maybe phased out, or we'll see. It is cheaper than right now. The Basilisks are like $600. Chimeras are over $400. It can be as low as like $419 and as high as $490 essentially. So yeah, I don't see any sandwich Basilisks available on his site. Sandwich basilisks are, of course, more customizable because, you know, the sandwich, you can choose different scales, you can choose different spacers, and all sorts like that. But I certainly think that all of his knives have a lot of merit. Whether or not they're for you, they're all well-designed, well-made knives. And, again, if your flipping preferences are for them, it's up to you. I think the most easily recommendable one would be the Ghost. Interestingly enough, it's neutral, it's a trainer, it's very sturdy. It is a bit pricey, it's like to 90-ish, but for a completely G10 trainer, it feels good. It's just loud as balls unless you get the silencer from Zippy, which is so worth it. But the metal construction ones are totally fine and they feel good. So yeah, I think the Prod C it's good, but I don't love it. And it is a little pricey to just be like, go out and get one of this. You know, I can't just be like, you need one. So it's a bit hard to say, because I believe the other titanium trainers out there, what is even out there that's a titanium trainer? The Sasori has a titanium variant, and the Totori has a trainer variant, but those aren't really in common production. They're much lighter, they're more conventional. This is a little bit older school feeling, and not even like really old school. Just like I like that you can choose between like heavy handle bias and like neutral handle bias-ish, you know, like kind of teetering that. But it is a really solid construction. It's well designed, and I kind of think that's about all I have to say. I want to like it more, but I can't lie that like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, this is my favorite trainer ever. It's not, but it is a very, very solid trainer. And if I were to look at my other titanium trainers, I got a Segai trainer, an EX11 trainer, a Rep O Zentinel, and a Thai Antarctic. The Thai Antarctic you might be able to get a good price for secondhand. It's definitely a lot more conventional and has a lot of options. Albeit they're not super common. Segai had trainer. I got, I think, roughly around 300-ish. But it's all preference. So it's like, it's not absurd, but $330 is, you know, it's certainly not a whimsical, yeah, I'll go for that kind of thing. So I hope this was helpful. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments or in DMs. Jerry is very easy to talk to, I find. And again, if you were thinking like, that looks nice, but I wish it was neutral, don't worry. The G10 and the carbon fiber ones are much lighter and much more neutral. I just haven't tried those yet. And I'm sure that I probably would like those much more than this one, just for my own personal preferences in terms of weight and flipping. But the titanium handles certainly feel really good. They feel very hefty and clean and durable. And so like this titanium variant without the scales, I think would be a fantastic daily driver that you could beat without worrying about it losing its tune, without worrying about it getting kind of any messed up, without it tapping, without any sort of issues. Not that I don't think you should actively try to beat your knives, but like this is a knife that I would not be afraid of dropping. And it's already stonewashed, so like any minor scuffs that you could get, it's just gonna kind of blend in a little bit. So thank you. Huge thank you again to Jerry. So thank you so much for lending this to me and lending me your Ghost. I eventually got my own Ghost that I am a big fan of. And hopefully I will be able to review other knives in the future from Jerry when he eventually comes out. Maybe in the future I will be able to get my hands on a carbon fiber and or G10 Prod C, and I can give a more concrete thing. Like I can be like, I have now tried this and have opinions. But I'm currently just speculating my opinions on that. But this is really solid. So it's certainly worth it if it's worth it for you, but it's not inexpensive, and it's not easy to just jump for. So now I'm just repeating myself. Thanks. Check out the coffee in the description. A little bit goes a long way. Helps me keep making videos. It helps me just, let me know your thoughts. If you like my content, I always appreciate things. And so thanks again. I don't think there's a latch variant for this, if that matters to you, but most people are anti-latch. Yeah. Have a good one.